We're here with Temperman from Ghosthunters International. You see him on the Sci-Fi Channel. We just want to get a little bit of his insight into, since he's international, like stuff that happens outside of the United States with the paranormal, and since we're talking about that this episode. So Scott, how many countries have you been in now, do you know?
I have no clue, but it's a lot. It's been a lot of countries, a whole bunch.
And do you think there's like a certain part of the world that has more active paranormal stuff, or is it pretty much everywhere?
The fact that you go to places that are steeped in history and the places are much older, you're bound to have more activity. I don't know if there's a certain particular type, like if it's a fort or if it's a jail or what. I don't know if that's necessarily something. I just think it depends on the actual history of the place and definitely how old it is. If it's around longer, it's going to have a longer history.
And do you think there are cultural differences in the way that people perceive the paranormal?
I think that's 100% accurate. Yeah, I do. I think we have to understand that when we go from place to place, we can take our experiences and build on them and learn a little bit and keep that in the back of our mind. But we also have to approach each case as its own animal because everything is completely different. You know, despite what people are trying to sell you about ghost hunting Bibles or the way to ghost hunt, there's no exact science for this. So the way that people are going about investigating, everything's trial and error. So you really have to learn from your previous experiences, build on some of them, discount some of the things that didn't work, or maybe if they didn't work, apply them differently to another place, and it might work.
And are there certain places that you've been that really surprised you? Or, I mean, I don't want to say scared you, because I don't think people get really frightened in the paranormal field very often.
I get frightened.
Oh, yeah.
I do get frightened. Yeah, I do get frightened. And one thing that's pretty interesting is that everyone that knows me away from the show, they said that it's very refreshing because when they watch the show, I'm the exact same person as I am in real life. Like if I say a joke, that's what I would say at home. If I'm clumsy and tripping, that's what I'm doing at home. If I'm freaking out, I'm doing that at home as well. So that's what it is. The things that do surprise me are, you know, a lot of people get this into their head where if something looks haunted, it probably is. I don't know why that's being thrown around because I don't know if I necessarily believe that. We've gone into places that have looked lame, small, boring, new, and those are the most active that we've had. So you can't really label anything before you go in there. You just can't.
So, okay, then I will ask you, what's the most scared you've been so far?
Anytime, and this has happened a few times, but anytime that I'm touched or pushed, I don't like it.
You like right now?
Well, by something I don't see. But yeah, well, with that mask is creepy. But just the fact that something is strong enough and to manipulate your body, to manipulate your essence, and you don't realize what it is, there's some strength behind that, and it's personal. And you take that as, you almost feel like it's a home invasion or something. And it's a very weird feeling. I had a millimeter out, it was Puerto Rico. Joe and I were investigating the theater. Something threw the millimeter out of my hand. I do not know what the hell it was. It freaked me out. And that's just one of the instances. I've had numerous accounts like that.
And are there places that you can sense that it may not be a very friendly spirit that's there with you? Or have you had that experience? Or
Yes and no. I've never really personally dealt like face to face with a demonic force. We've had cases that involve demonic possession, but I haven't personally come face to face with something. The thing that I do believe though is when something dies, whatever the way they were in life is what they're going to carry on in death. So if they were a nice person in life, they're going to be nice in death. If they were nasty and confrontational, antagonistic, they're going to be the same way when they die. So sometimes it certainly is very necessary to provoke because you're dealing with something that's standing, you know, you don't see it, but it's standing. It's like, please talk. You want to get a rise out of it. You want to kind of evoke some kind of a response. So it just depends what you start getting a feel with what you're dealing with. Then you have to tailor your questioning to that and tailor your investigation to it.
okay, we'll just change gears on you. What's your favorite paranormal horror film?
My favorite movie of all time is The Exorcist. But I personally think to this day, and I'm the horror buff. I like die-hard horror film. I know everything about horror movies. But Poltergeist is the best haunted house film to this day. The only one that came close to me A lot of people disagree with me, but Insidious. I think it was outstanding. I think how it was normal and it started slowly unraveling. That was great. And I think Paranormal Activity was actually probably one of the worst, as well as the second one. It got worse. I don't understand how it got worse first, but it did.
See, he's a very smart man because I totally agree with him about that. Just to tell you, Scott, we showed Poltergeist at the theater on Friday night. We had a crowd of about 75 people. 30 of them were teenage girls for some reason. And when the clown, came to see you.
Who wouldn't with that mask?
And when the clown popped up in the bed, the whole theater went insane, screaming. It's still a very effective film.
To be honest, some of my favorite movies are the Saw franchise. I love that franchise because it was a well-written, smart movie, from beginning to end. It respected its audience. I like that. It didn't go to get crazy and try to change the formula. If it worked, I'm all for repetition, entertainment through repetition. If it works, do it again, do it again, do it again. That's fine.
We know all about that.
Exactly. But I mean, there's certain movies out there, and yeah, that's a huge example. Exorcist is my personal favorite movie because that's just an exercise in phenomenal filmmaking from beginning to end. Script writing, acting, storyline, pacing, editing, everything, music, sound, everything.
Okay, and then one last question for you, because obviously you're here on Nightmare Theater. What's your favorite bad horror movie?
I like so many horror movies. One of my favorite all-time movies that seems to be on everyone's list of crappy movies is Chopping Mall. And if I honestly made a list of my top 10, well, I have a top 10 a list of my favorite movies of all time, non-horror and horror, Chopping Mall is proudly up there.
Directed by the great Jim Wynorski.
Phenomenal movie.
We love Jim. So, well, thanks for taking the time to talk to us, Scott.
Anytime, guys.
We appreciate it, and happy hunting out there.
Good, thank you. I hope I can leave now. You're both creeping me out.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And you guys get back to the movie.